The journey to find Olivia Graves had taken days of quiet investigation, each step building a sense of anticipation I could not shake. I, Ethan Langley, had traced her life through subtle clues, left by my late uncle, Victor Ellwood, uncovering a pattern of quiet philanthropy, humility, and unwavering integrity. Yet nothing could have prepared me for the moment I finally stood before her. Her house was modest, tucked behind a row of ancient oak trees, the kind that whispered secrets with the wind. The sun had begun its descent, casting long shadows across the cobblestone path that led to the front door. A single light glimmered through the window, warm and inviting. My heart pounded in my chest as I raised my hand to knock, though before I could, the door opened. She stood there composed, yet not imposing. Olivia Graves was in her early 30s, with hair the color of autumn chestnut and eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories. There was an immediacy to her presence, a quiet strength that drew attention without demanding it. For a moment I was struck silent, unsure of how to begin. "I wasn't expecting visitors," she said softly, though a flicker of recognition passed across her features. "You must be Ethan Langley." "Yes," I said, my voice carrying a mixture of relief, curiosity, and an unspoken tension. I wanted to understand why my uncle chose you." She smiled faintly, a mixture of humility and quiet wisdom. "He believed that inheritance is not merely about blood," she said. "It's about who can honor it with integrity." Her words settled over me like a soft rain, cleansing, yet insistent. I realized she understood more than I expected, not just about the inheritance, but about the weight of responsibility, the burden of choices, and the intentions behind them. I hesitated before stepping inside, feeling as though I were crossing a threshold into a world deliberately separate from the petty expectations of my own family. Her home was simple but meticulous. Books lined the walls, organized by topic and size, and small tokens of her life were scattered in a way that suggested thoughtfulness rather than ostentation. Photographs captured moments of charity, acts of kindness, small victories of moral courage that she had quietly overseen. It became clear that she lived intentionally, guided by principles, not desire. We sat across from one another at a small wooden table. Tea was served in delicate porcelain cups, steam rising gently as the sun cast long shadows across the room. I studied her carefully, noting the subtle expressions, the way she listened before speaking, the calm certainty in her gaze. She embodied everything my uncle had admired, a life lived with purpose and integrity, free from the need for recognition. "I imagine you have many questions," Olivia said, her voice gentle yet assured. "Questions about me, about why your uncle entrusted me with his legacy, and perhaps about why he bypassed family entirely." I nodded, words failing me for a moment. I don't understand. Why me? Why not the family? We are his blood." She shook her head, a soft smile touching her lips. "Victor knew your family well. He understood ambition, greed, and expectation. But he also understood character. I am outside the tangled web of entitlement that can blind those closest to power. He trusted me to steward his estate responsibly, without selfish interference. That is all he sought." Her words resonated, but they also stung. The truth was uncomfortable, but unavoidable. Victor had known our flaws, our pride, our impatience, our inability to see beyond our own desires. He had chosen someone untainted by these failings, someone who could fulfill the legacy with care and dignity. Olivia Graves, the stranger, was the person he had deemed most worthy, not because of blood, but because of integrity. We spoke for hours, and with each passing moment, I began to understand the meticulous reasoning behind Victor's choice. He had left subtle clues, hints buried in letters, journals, and personal anecdotes, guiding me toward the realization that inheritance was more than wealth. It was a responsibility, a moral trust. Olivia had lived her life consistently in alignment with these values, and Victor had recognized that. "You have a choice. Now, Ethan," she said finally, her eyes steady. "You can continue to dwell on what was denied, or you can observe, learn, and perhaps carry forward what your uncle valued most. He did not merely give wealth, he gave a lesson." Her words struck me with the weight of inevitability. I realized then that my journey was not about contesting the inheritance, nor about jealousy or resentment. It was about understanding the principles Victor Ellwood had sought to preserve, and the kind of legacy a person leaves behind when guided by character rather than entitlement. As I left her home that evening, the sun had set completely, leaving only the dim glow of lanterns and streetlights. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of earth and leaves. I walked back slowly, reflecting on everything I had learned. Olivia Graves was more than a stranger. She was the embodiment of responsibility, the living proof of my uncle's wisdom, and the unexpected mirror in which I could see the truths about myself and my family. That night, as I returned to my lodgings, I thought of Victoria and Damien, consumed by anger and disbelief, plotting their futile schemes. I thought of my own reflections, the lessons I had begun to understand, and the quiet satisfaction of witnessing integrity in action. The inheritance had been given to someone worthy, and in understanding her, I began to comprehend the depths of Victor Ellwood's foresight. The story of the inheritance was no longer about loss, envy, or entitlement. It was about trust, responsibility, and the subtle power of character. And in the stranger who now held that inheritance, I found not only answers, but a path to understanding the legacy my uncle had left behind, lessons that could never be measured in wealth alone. Returning from Olivia Graves' modest home, I felt a strange mixture of clarity and unease. I, Ethan Langley, understood now why my late uncle, Victor Ellwood, had chosen her to inherit everything. Yet I also knew that my family would not see reason so easily. The lessons of integrity and responsibility were foreign to Victoria and Damien Hawkes, whose eyes had always been trained on opportunity and entitlement. When I arrived at the estate, Victoria was waiting, arms crossed, her expression a mix of fury and disbelief. Damien lingered near the doorway, calm on the surface, but exuding an unmistakable aura of calculation. "Where have you been, Ethan?" Victoria demanded, her voice sharp. "You disappear for days, and now you come back. What? Singing praises to some stranger who stole everything from us?" I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Victoria, it's not theft. It's responsibility. Uncle Victor chose Olivia because he trusted her to handle the estate with integrity, something we've never shown or been ourselves capable of consistently." Her eyes narrowed. "Integrity? That's a convenient excuse. He's our blood. He should have trusted family." Damien finally spoke, his tone measured and dangerous. "Family doesn't mean competence. It means expectation. We were supposed to inherit what's rightfully ours. Instead, a stranger, some woman with no claim, gets everything. This is not just injustice. It's a mistake we can exploit." I felt a surge of frustration, but also resolve. You can't exploit it. Ms. Liora Fenwick made the will's intentions clear. Any attempt to challenge it legally will fail, and morally, you should think about what Victor valued, not just what you want. Victoria's hands clenched into fists. "So we just accept it? We let her take everything while we—" She broke off, her voice rising in anger. "No," I said firmly, stepping closer. "We do not accept it out of pride or greed. We accept it because it is the truth. Victor chose her for a reason. She deserves this. And maybe we need to learn from it." Damien's smirk faltered, replaced by a frown as he realized I would not be an ally in undermining Olivia. "You've changed," he said quietly, almost accusingly. "You've let yourself believe in this moral fairy tale she represents." "I've let myself see reality," I replied. "The reality is that inheritance isn't about entitlement. It's about responsibility. Something you two seem incapable of understanding." The tension in the room was palpable, a storm threatening to break at any moment. Victoria paced, her mind racing for a way to reclaim what she believed was hers. Damien's fingers drummed against the table, each beat a measure of impatience and restrained fury. Then, in a moment of quiet realization, I understood something fundamental. Their anger, their attempts to manipulate, their inability to see beyond themselves. It was all proof of Victor's wisdom. He had anticipated this response, had chosen Olivia precisely because she was immune to it, because she had the patience, judgment, and integrity to withstand the greed and chaos that often accompanies wealth. I left the room, stepping out into the cool evening air. The estate was quiet, the shadows long and contemplative. I walked through the gardens, reflecting on the lessons of the past weeks. Olivia Graves was more than a stranger. She was a living testament to the principles my uncle valued most. And while my cousins raged and schemed, I felt a sense of calm clarity settle over me. Later, as I observed Olivia taking charge of the estate, I saw firsthand the wisdom of Victor Ellwood's decision. She transformed opulence into purpose, vanity into virtue, and idle wealth into action that benefited the community. The gardens flourished, staff were treated with dignity, and charitable acts multiplied under her guidance. Victoria and Damien, despite their plotting, were powerless to stop her. Their entitlement collided with reality, and the lesson was harsh, but necessary. Wealth without integrity is fragile. Power without responsibility is meaningless. As weeks passed, I found myself reflecting on my own role. I had witnessed greed, resentment, and disappointment, yet I had also seen integrity, humility, and deliberate action. Olivia's stewardship became a mirror, reflecting not just the values my uncle admired, but also the potential for growth within me. One evening, I visited her once more, not as a challenger or competitor, but as an observer. We walked through the estate's gardens, where the scent of flowers mixed with the cool night air. She's doing exactly what he intended, I thought quietly. She is honoring the legacy with care, wisdom, and vision. Olivia noticed my gaze lingering on the flourishing grounds. "It's all about choices," she said softly. "Victor entrusted me with more than wealth. He entrusted me with responsibility. Every act, every decision matters. That's what he wanted us to understand. Those who receive are responsible for more than themselves." Her words resonated, echoing through the corridors of my thoughts. I realized then that Victor's final act was not only about who would inherit. It was about teaching us the consequences of our values, our actions, and our character. In the end, the confrontation with my family did not need to escalate further. Victoria and Damien could rage, argue, and plot endlessly, but the truth remained unshakable. Olivia Graves was chosen not by chance, but by discernment. And in her stewardship, I saw the tangible manifestation of integrity triumphing over entitlement. That night, I returned home, carrying a sense of calm I had not felt in years. The inheritance had revealed truths far greater than wealth or possession. It had revealed character, the fragility of greed, and the enduring power of moral responsibility. And in observing Olivia, I understood the essence of Victor Ellwood's legacy. A legacy not defined by blood, but by the strength of one's choices. The weeks following Olivia Graves' assumption of the estate were transformative, not just for the property she now managed, but for me, Ethan Langley, and, indirectly, for the lessons etched into the legacy of Victor Ellwood. The grandeur of the estate had been tempered by her deliberate care. Rooms once cold and formal now carried warmth. Gardens once neglected flourished, and the staff moved about with a quiet dignity that spoke of respect rather than fear. Victoria and Damien Hawkes had retreated into bitter arguments and legal threats, but even their efforts proved hollow. Olivia's calm, principled stewardship left no room for manipulation or exploitation. She managed the estate not as an end in itself, but as a responsibility, a living testament to the values my uncle had cherished: integrity, humility, and deliberate action. I visited her one crisp morning, the sun just rising over the hills surrounding the estate. The light fell on the gardens in soft gold, highlighting the meticulous care she had poured into every flower, every pathway, every small corner of the grounds. Olivia greeted me at the gate with that calm, measured smile that had first unsettled me weeks ago. "You've done more than I expected," I said, gesturing toward the thriving gardens. "He would be proud." Olivia shook her head, humility evident in her posture. "It's not about expectation, Ethan. It's about responsibility. Victor entrusted me with a legacy, not for my sake, but for the sake of what that wealth could accomplish. Every decision matters. Every act of stewardship counts. That is what he wanted us to understand." I nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate in my chest. Watching her work, I realized how Victor had foreseen the flaws in our family, our tendency toward greed, envy, and entitlement, and had chosen a stranger precisely because she would not be swayed by them. His final lesson had been deliberate, uncompromising, and profound. Victoria and Damien remained at the fringes, their dissatisfaction palpable, yet impotent. I did not resent them. Their behavior was part of the lesson. Entitlement without character is fragile, I thought, and they were proof of it. In contrast, Olivia embodied resilience, patience, and a quiet strength that demanded respect without demanding attention. Days turned into weeks, and I continued to observe, learning from her example. She managed conflicts with clarity, made difficult decisions without hesitation, and ensured that the estate served not only the family legacy, but the broader community that depended on it. Every action, every decision, was a reflection of careful, moral judgment, an inheritance far more valuable than gold or land. I began reflecting on my own journey. The initial shock, disbelief, and envy I had felt gave way to understanding, humility, and self-awareness. Victor Ellwood had chosen not merely an inheritor, but a mirror through which I could see the consequences of my own values and choices. Olivia Graves was a testament to the enduring power of integrity, patience, and quiet moral courage. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the estate in a warm amber glow, I sat in the library with Olivia. We spoke of Victor, of the lessons hidden in his decisions, and of the subtle ways in which wealth and power intersected with character. "Ethan," she said softly, "inheritance is more than possessions. It's influence, responsibility, and moral trust. Victor knew that, and he entrusted me not because of privilege, but because of principle. I hope that in time, you and your family can understand that." I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt a profound sense of peace. The legacy was secure, not merely because of law or wealth, but because of the strength of character guiding it. I understood now that Victor Ellwood's final act, was not about exclusion, punishment, or favoritism. It was about ensuring that his values endured, that responsibility and integrity were honored above all else. As I left the estate that night, the stars emerging one by one in the clear sky, I felt a quiet satisfaction. The inheritance had not been lost. It had been transformed into something far more enduring than gold or land. It was a legacy of character, a testament to integrity, and a mirror reflecting the truths of human nature. Olivia Graves remained the steward of the estate, the stranger who had become a guardian of values my uncle had held dear. Victoria and Damien would continue to wrestle with disappointment and envy, but their struggles no longer concerned me. The lesson had been delivered, the inheritance fulfilled, and the truth revealed. Legacy is not measured by blood, but by the strength of one's choices and the courage to uphold what is right. And in that quiet understanding, I found closure, not in possession, but in reflection, learning, and the recognition of enduring principles. Victor Ellwood's final message had been clear, uncompromising, and ultimately illuminating. The story of the inheritance was complete, not in riches gained or lost, but in the truths revealed, the lessons learned, and the quiet victory of integrity over expectation.
Thank you for watching this story until the end. If you found it meaningful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful, real stories from around the world.